December 18th, 2013 meeting of the Environmental and Public Works Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Ansello? Here. Mr. Antelli? Here. Mr. Colby?
Here.
Chairman Daniele?
Here.
Mr. Haney? Here. Mr. Wilcox?
Here.
Mr. Yolovich?
No. No problem. Is there anyone signed up for the public forum this evening?
There's not.
Is there anyone present? No. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. You have the November 25th, 2013 minutes of the Environmental and Public Works Committee before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item on the agenda is new business.
Referral 13-342.
Moved by Legislator Ansello, seconded by Legislator Antelli. Is there any discussion? Legislator Haney. Oh, I'm sorry. Legislator Wilcox.
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, was an RFQ issued for these contracts?
Through the chair, yes.
Through the chair, how many respondents were there?
Through the chair, there were, for the design contract, there was 30 respondents to the initial shortlisting. 5 firms were shortlisted and 3 firms submitted proposals. For the construction management, 19 firms responded to the expression of interest for shortlisting. 7 firms were shortlisted and 3 firms submitted proposals.
Thank you. Could you provide a little bit of information about the scoring criteria through the chair?
Through the chair, the traditional scoring criteria for consultants was utilized, and that's actually outlined in the RFPs. That includes understanding scope of the project, proposed approach to the project, general technical and professional competence, specific experience in similar projects, previous performance record.
That's fine. I appreciate it. Thank
sure.
you. No, because my next question, and I appreciate you going through that. Maybe we just get copies of the RFQ, if that's possible, and the rating sheets, if that would be possible. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, we'll provide the information.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Legislator Haney.
Does DeMarco Construction have prior experience doing this kind of work? I know they built the dorms at the community college, but those were 2 projects that were significantly smaller than this. Have they ever been construction manager on a major project before?
Through the chair, DeMarco Constructors is a general contractor and a construction manager. Notably for the county and MCC, they were the construction manager on the PSTF MCC Building 9 as well as the field house.
They provided construction construction management services on those 2 projects?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Is there any other discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-343. Authorize
Moved by
the contract.
Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Colby. Is there any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, is this going to include the windows? I hope.
Through the chair, it is contemplated during one of the phases of the project, yes.
I'm sorry?
Through the chair, it is contemplated in one of the future phases of the project, yes. This is a multiple-phase project in the CIP. There's funding over multiple years for improvements to the county
Okay.
office building.
Not in every office, though, most offices. Any other discussion?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I
Legislator
might ask some similar questions regarding if an RFP was issued for this project?
Through the chair, yes, there was.
Who are the other respondents? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, there were 7 respondents to the ultimate RFP, and M&E was selected as the most qualified firm.
Okay. And through you, Mr. Chairman, could you please provide us with a copy of the scoring sheets and RFP as well?
Through the chair, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, I would just actually, would you be able to provide us with a copy of the scoring sheets and the RFP?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Legislator Colby.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if you can indulge me. I know if I went and found my CIP book for 2013, it would list, but how many years is the plan to take place? You said there's a couple phases, and I know they're probably all listed in the CIP, but I don't have it in front of me.
Through the chair, I have a copy of the CIP. Just give me 1 second. Through the chair, the total project is $4.5 million with 1.15 budgeted in 14, and then $1 million or a little bit in 1 year, 1.35 budgeted in 16, 17, and 19. So it's over the next 6 years. But certainly we understand that the windows are a priority.
And it looks like it's level dollars across the years almost then.
It is level dollars in most of the years. In 2017, there's an additional $350,000, so that's
Okay.
1.35 years.
And I assume those numbers might be adjusted through you, Mr. Chairman, depending on how the workload after the contractor gets in on it. He might want to accelerate certain sections or slow down.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-344,
Moved by
authorized.
legislator Colby, seconded by legislator Yolovich. Yes, legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I've not heard of the firm of C.J. Brown Energy Engineering before. Are they a local outfit?
Through the chair, they're based in Buffalo.
Is there no one local that we could have used for this service? I mean, the legislature some years ago adopted a resolution favoring the use of Monroe County-based vendors, et cetera.
Through the chair, certainly that is the strong preference of the administration and the department, and the vast majority of our consulting contracts do go to local vendors. In this instance, C.J. Brown has held this contract before and provided fantastic service to the county on a number of projects. When it came up for evaluation again, they were the top scoring firm of the 6 firms that submitted proposals. There were other out-of-community firms. There were only, it appears, 2 local firms that submitted, 3 local firms that submitted proposals.
Through the chair, were the 3 local firms, how did they compare price-wise?
Through the chair, we engage in a qualifications-based selection process, so fee schedules and so on and so forth are negotiated after selection.
But through the chair, are you certain that there's a discernible difference between C.J. Brown and someone who would have been local to do this?
Through the chair, the answer to that is certainly yes. Local office is certainly part of the scoring criteria that we go through. However, it's not the only criteria. When we go through this process, we certainly look at prior performance record, the skills of the various firms involved, and also the workload of those various firms, and certainly all of that is considered when making selection. But looking at the scoring, it was clear that C.J. Brown was the strongest firm, and again, they've provided an excellent value to the county during their tenure with this contract.
Any further discussion? Legislator Colby.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, this is a term contract, and I see you listed a half a dozen or a dozen, at least, different accounts. And my first question is, the account that this money will be taken out of depends on where the work's being done. You'll assign it as the projects come up if they're working in a certain area, I assume.
Through the chair, that is correct. We cut a purchase order for each individual project in order to account for costs, and we assign those costs to the appropriate cost center, whether related to the facility where the work is being evaluated.
And just for clarification, or reassurance from me, I guess, this is a standard term service contract, and the number we're voting on is a maximum amount that could be spent without other approval, and it might not be used, the total amount might not be used even though it's there. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, could we please just get a copy of the RFQ and the scoring sheets as well?
Through the chair, certainly.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 13-346, authorize a
Moved by
contract.
Legislator Yolovich, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Any discussion? Legislator Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Similar to the last situation, I never heard of Arcadis before either. Are they a local outfit or?
Through the chair, they have two local offices, and they are also, they purchased Malcolm Perney, which also had local offices recently.
Oh, so they bought Malcolm Perney?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay. Where is their home base? It doesn't matter.
Well, through the chair, they're an international firm.
Okay, thank you. Offices, you said.
Through the chair, the one that's specifically addressed in legislative action is actually over in the Woodcliff office park there in Fairport.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, was an RFQ issued for this project?
Through the chair, an RFP was issued, yes.
Thank you. Were there other respondents?
Through the chair, yes, there were. Give me 1 second. I'll locate those for you. Through the chair, there were 2 respondents.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, could we just be provided with a copy of the scoring sheets and a copy of the RFQ as well?
Through the chair, certainly.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries.
Referral 13-352, authorize a
Moved
contract.
by Legislator Antelli for the last time on our committee. Legislator Antelli, seconded by Legislator Ansello. Is there any discussion? Legislator Colby.
Chairman, this is the first time we've ever done a contract like this for reviewing projects that are in dispute.
Through the chair, that is correct.
How often do projects do we end up going, I mean, you always have a debate or about cost, but how often do we've had projects that ever had to go to a dispute process on a yearly basis?
Through the chair, depending on the level of dispute, I mean, almost every, I would say, construction project has some level of dispute between design consultant, owners, the county, and the contractor.
I call them discomforts. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
yes, but however, we try to resolve those before they reach the level of litigation, and this is just a continuing portion of that effort to use a relatively small dollar amount to further avoid arbitration and/or litigation.
I guess my question for you, through the chair, is how often have we gone through litigation or through this process?
Through the chair, the only project that's going through litigation currently is the MCC Building 9 project. However, we have at least one ongoing project that potentially we could enter into litigation in the near term.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in the past, have there been a lot of them, or just one here and there? Is that what it's usually? Is that what you're saying it is?
It's fair to say that it's been on very few projects that we ever reached the point of litigation. Do we reach the point of conversations between county's council and contractors' council?
Oh, I assume
that happens on a
regular basis.
regularly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Haney.
Mr. Loki at one time had a plumbing construction outfit. And that's what his background is. I mean, is he going to be viewed as, since he was a former plumbing contractor, in fact, he used to do work for the county, is he going to be viewed as impartial going into these proceedings, where he presumably is going to be settling arbitrations between contractors and design consultants, et cetera? Is a former plumbing contractor going to be viewed as really independent?
Through the chair, I mean, I can't speak to the views of any firm going into a dispute, but Mr. Loki's provided these services for school districts and other municipalities, and has done so successfully, which has led the county to believe that certainly he could be successful engaging in similar efforts for the county of Monroe.
Well, despite the fact, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Loki is a former member of this body some years ago, I'm going to vote against this because, A, I'm not sure, never having done it before, that we need to engage in spending $50,000 now. And there were certain incidents connected with and I can't remember what the name of his plumbing company was. It ultimately filed for bankruptcy. But there were certain incidents. There was one involving the county, involving change orders that I recall. When the big reconstruction project was taking place out at Monroe Community Hospital, there were incidents involving change orders in his firm. And he originally was awarded, his firm was also originally awarded the plumbing contract by the city when the city undertook the enlargement of the War Memorial Auditorium. And the city later, in the midst of and I don't know any of the details of this, of why, but in the midst of the project, the city...
On this,
Well,
I think we're a little off base here.
I'm explaining my vote, Mr. Chairman. I
Yeah,
think there are
Legislator
serious
Haney,
questions about the qualifications of Mr. Loki and of this expenditure, so I'm going to vote no.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Legislator Wilcox.
Through you, Mr. It was mentioned that this firm had done some work for other municipalities, and that this firm was quite successful. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, what when you say successful, what proof were you provided that money was actually saved by engaging in these services?
Through the chair, Loki Brill provided letters of support from former customers speaking to the quality of their work as it relates to providing these services on construction projects.
Okay, and thank you for answering the question. So we did have letters of recommendation, but did we see any proof of any savings through you, Mr. Chairman?
Through the chair, the letters of support from the various entities that had made use of Loki Brill services stated that they had saved money, but I don't have details on the given projects.
And this, through you, Mr. Chairman, this is a question sort of related to that, because I'm sort of curious if we weren't really provided any proof that they could save money. You know, why are we deciding to engage in these services now? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, I mean, it's speculative to say what a given lawsuit would cost a given municipality or the county if it occurred. But certainly, similar to purchasing insurance, avoiding litigation or avoiding the liability certainly has a value to it. And for, again, what we believe to be a minor sum, we think that that's a healthy financial decision to make to hopefully avoid a much more costly litigation in the future.
Okay, I guess I'll just explain my vote at this time. I am also not going to vote in favor of this contract, only because at this point in time I'd like to see something from this company that indicates that they have actually saved some municipalities some money. It looks like we could be spending up to $150,000 on this contract over the course of 3 years. So at this point in time, I'll be voting no.
Thank you. Legislator Colby.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Just make sure I'm clear on this. This is a term contract like the other ones are. So if we don't have any, my understanding right, so if we don't have any dispute or don't have to engage him or don't feel we need to engage him, we would not be spending any dollars unless we feel that we need to engage him on a specific contract. Is that correct for you?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Thank you. So, for you, Mr. Chairman, for clarification, so like you said, it's an insurance policy. If you do get into a dragged out issue with a contractor, you at least can get the common ground worked out for maybe even if you do have a dispute, it gets down to a narrower, more focused dispute instead of a lot of he said, she said stuff. Is that a simple analysis to put down?
Through the chair, that's correct. And in addition, potentially by resolving these disputes in a timely manner during construction, you advance the project, which you don't delay subcontractors and other workers on the contract, and therefore ultimately the project at a lower project cost because you've kept on your timetable as opposed to having an unnecessary delay.
Thank you.
Legislator Wilcox.
Actually, now that I think about it, maybe you could, through you, Mr. Chairman, maybe the administration could provide some of those letters of recommendation that you received from other municipalities. That might be helpful.
Through the chair, certainly.
Thank you.
It just seems to me that some of the requests tonight, I hope Legislator Wilcox has got a lot of time during the Christmas season to do some reading, because he's going to have a stack of it.
I have a feeling he'll have some time over the holidays. Give him something to do.
We'd actually like to read on this side.
It puts me to sleep. It's my sleeping pill.
Any further discussion on this matter? There being none, actually, we'll go to a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ansello?
Yes.
Mr. Antelli?
Yes.
Mr. Colby?
Yes.
Chairman Daniele?
Yes.
Mr. Haney?
No.
Mr. Wilcox?
No.
Mr. Yolovich?
Yes.
5-2.
Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before the committee at this time? There being no other business or matters, the December 18th, 2013 meeting of the Environmental and Public Works Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting will be held January 29th, 2014 at 5 p.m.